So we're going to begin our Kastaplast story several years before the company was actually founded. So it's 2005. All discs, at least all PDGA approved discs, are being manufactured in the United States. So for European players, they're having to pay premium prices to cover the cost of shipping every disc across the Atlantic. This created quite the opportunity for a manufacturer to establish Europe as their home base and capitalize on this already fast-growing market, particularly in the Scandinavian nations of Northern Europe. This opportunity would be seized a year later in 2006 when both Discmania and Latitude 64 are founded. Just 3 years after that, in 2009, Westside Discs would begin designing their own molds as well. So fast forward just 2 more years to 2011, and Jonas Lindberg would start Kastaplast, Swedish for throw plastic. Jonas is a tough man to track down information on or even a photo of. It seems to be a very common name over there in Sweden. So sadly, what I've gathered is from very trustworthy online forums, as they always are, and from written interviews from the early 2010s when he discussed a little about himself and the origin story of Kastaplast. So here's what I've gathered. Jonas is Swedish. He started playing disc golf around 1992, and he's a designer with a Master's of Fine Arts. Kastaplast actually started in a basement of a Swedish prototyping shop where Jonas began experimenting with different technologies that were at his disposal. After 2 years, Jonas sent his first mold, the Rask, a 14-speed driver, for PDGA approval. It would be approved in 2013, and it looks like it was actually released to the public in 2014. So around this time, I think in 2013, Anders Karlstrom and Per Johnson joined Jonas as co-owners of Kastaplast and helped to continue growing out the prototype shop's basement. With the success and positive reception of the Rask, the Cax, a stable mid-range, followed shortly after with PDGA approval coming in May 2014 and a release shortly thereafter. The Rask and Cax helped to get Kastaplast on the map, particularly in Europe, and just a year later, on March 27, 2015, the PDGA approval of the Berg would change the trajectory of the company and disc golf forever. So if you somehow haven't heard of the Berg, it's an almost glideless one-speed that has incredible feel. It honestly looks cooler than any disc I've ever seen, and it's the kind of lightning in a bottle mold, like the tilt, that could take the disc golf world by storm, where everyone talks about it, everyone wants to try it, and it sounds like the Berg did just that. Some of this predates me. I started playing in 2018, but it sounds like even in 2015, 2016, the Berg was already a hot commodity at that point, and the hype around the disc has only grown since. I can confidently say, since starting to play in 2018, that the Berg is the most hyped and beloved disc on the internet, and it's not even close. Basically a cult following over there on Reddit. So since the release of the Berg, Kastaplast has had 16 new molds approved by the PDGA. Some of those were tweaks to existing discs like Berg X this year, for example, but most of those were new molds or new discs entirely. Based on the flight chart on their site, it looks like Kastaplast currently has 12 molds, all of which I assume are still being manufactured in different plastic. But speaking of the manufacturing side, while Kastaplast is based in Stockholm, Sweden, based on their website, and I assume that's where all of the designing and testing is occurring, sounds like the actual manufacturing is done by Latitude 64 in, forgive me, Skellefteå, Sweden. Now, it sounds like this wasn't always the case, but I assume as the demand for Kastaplast grew, probably largely in part due to the success of the Berg, the need for a reliable manufacturer with the ability to scale became a priority, and that's where Latitude 64 came in. It makes perfect sense. To this day, Kastaplast is sticking with their roots. They vow to not be a normal disc golf company or make normal molds. They want to be experimental. They want to challenge disc golf norms. And above all, they really seem to value quality over quantity, which is something I really appreciate. So if you are interested in learning more about Kastaplast, I've linked their sites down below. They're definitely worth checking out if you haven't tried any of their molds before. So thank you all for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.